Hey there, what's up? I'm Steve. Hope you're doing amazing today. So this is the second in a two-part series where I show you how using walk-ups and walk-downs, these cool little bass notes that connect your chords together, it can take your guitar playing to a totally new level. You'll sound like a pro and people around you will be amazed. Now, if you haven't seen the first video where I really focused on walk-downs, you may be like, what are you even talking about? Well, let me show you. I'll play Dust in the Wind by Kansas. So that right there shows you how I went from A minor up to C. I did a walk up to C and then I actually walked it right back down. That's just one of a bunch of songs. I'm going to show you Landslide by Fleetwood Mac, Stairway to Heaven, Hotel California, Take It Easy, American Pie, I Won't Back Down by Tom Petty, a bunch of great songs really fast. So there's 3 walk ups that I'm going to teach you today. In the other video where I did the walk downs, I showcased Caroline in My Mind by James Taylor. From D major down to G and down to E minor, really all the way through a couple different walk downs. So check out that video. I'll put a link in the description. But for now, let's hit the walk ups. Oh, hit like and subscribe before we get going. And let's start here. Let's do Dust in the Wind first. And it does this A minor to C walk up. It's one of the most famous of all of them. You're gonna hear a bunch of songs that do this. So A minor, but I'm really just hitting the open A right there, and then the first finger on the B string, like that. So then you remove everything and put the first finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, and then the 3rd fret of the B string with that finger, like that. Now you can strum, in some of these songs you'll hear me strum all those notes in between together, but for this song it's pretty cool. And then you go to a C major. And you're just hitting, again, the A string and the B string of that C major. So one more time. Like that. And then it picks and goes back down to that same shape. Back to A minor. And it actually has a bunch of other walk downs in here, like G down to the F, like that. But for the most part, that A minor goes like that. All right, right here in A minor, I'm going to hit just the bass note for Stairway to Heaven. So this one only hits that bass note on the way up, that open A, and right there to that 2nd fret of the A string, and then the 3rd fret, which is part of that C, and then it starts picking the rest. Does that same walk down that we did in Dust in the Wind before it goes into all those cool chords. Here's another one, Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. It starts with the C, does a walk down, and goes right back up. Very cool, huh? So it starts with the C, and you sort of like hammer on the open A to the 3rd fret, part of that C chord, and then you do that walk down, the same thing. Everything Dust in the Wind and Landslide, they're like exact right here. Pretty cool. Let's try Hotel California. I'll grab my pick for this one, and when it goes such a lovely place on D minor, it does this A minor walk up again. Walks up on the way there. So does the A minor. Now this one's a little bit different. You leave this finger planted right here on that 1st fret of the B string, and you just put that finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, sort of like that. It doesn't sound that great, but you really hit the low notes, like that. But when you get to the C major, you're right there, and the walk up actually continues. You lift this finger off like that, and you hit the open D string, and then put it back down. So now that you're just playing a C chord again, it's just a regular C major, and then you go to the F major. But what it does, it goes like that. Pretty cool. It's like a super walk up. So one more time. I got a 3-minute lesson on Hotel California. Let's try Take It Easy by the Eagles. It's in G major, but when it goes, don't let the sound of your sweet love. Right there, you see I went from A minor to C. I did the exact same walk up I did in Hotel California, A minor, then put that finger right there and leave this finger here and just strum everything in between. And up to a C major, Drive Me Crazy, back down to G. I'll give you one more here. This is American Pie by Don McLean. It's also in G, you know. Well, when it goes, with a pink carnation and a pickup truck, you know that part right there? A minor does that exact same walk up, like that. So again, A to that B version, C version, and then the song keeps rocking on from there. Okay, let's move on to the next walk up. This is E minor to G major, E minor to G major, but you can tell the key was this transitional chord right there that really makes it sing. And a great song example for this one is I Won't Back Down by Tom Petty. Won't get turned around. You know that whole thing right there? What's it do? E minor up to G, but right in between there you play an E minor, whether you play it with one finger or two fingers. Then you go to a D major, but instead of playing a regular D major, take your thumb and put it on the 2nd fret of the E string. That's what creates this walk up, and then you go to a G chord, however you play a G chord. So listen to the root notes. Open E string, 2nd fret of the E string, 3rd fret of the E string. Super cool right there with the rest of that song, but it's that walk up that really makes it beautiful. Another great one for this one is The One I Love by REM. You know this song? Very cool. Well, right when it goes into this bridge, it goes, you put your fingers here on the 3rd fret. That's not really pertinent to this one, but it goes, you know, a simple crop to occupy my time or whatever. You go from an E minor to that same thing up to a G. Now, it just happened to leave these fingers on the 3rd fret of the high E and the B like this. Very cool. Check out my lesson on that one. And then another one is Supertramp, Give a Little Bit, you know. It does all that. Well, when it goes to this part, B minor to E minor, E major. Now, this one's pretty cool. It's a little bit of a twist. It goes from an E major, does that same walk up, but it's from an E major, and it really only hits that note. You don't really hit much else, and then you hit the G. So, beautiful song right there, but you can tell that little walk up from E major this time to G is what makes it happen. Now you can do the walk downs the other way around. You can go from G to E minor. I'll show you those even though I covered them in my first video, but you know, I Want You to Want Me by Cheap Trick is in G major. So I went from a G down to that D major. You really don't hit much else from that D, but you can. You really don't hit the high note, but it's that low note right there to E minor right there. I'm doing these fast because you can check out my other video, but also Any Way You Want It by Journey, you know. All that is the G to the D with the thumb to the E minor. And lastly, that Caroline in My Mind song. That does a mega walk down from D all the way down to B minor to A to G. So there's that G and there's that note down to E minor. So the other video shows you how to play that whole thing. Okay, for the third walk up, we're going to mix it up and go from a major chord to a major chord. There's no minors in this one. So let's try G major to C major. And a great song for this one is You Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC. Ready? It actually ends up on a D major. I'll come back to that in a second, but the beginning part is this G major, like this. Well, the root note, the low note of that thing, is on the 3rd fret of the E string again, and you hit the open A string, 2nd fret of the A string, 3rd fret of the A string, and that's part of this C major chord right there, and back down to the 2nd fret of the A string. And instead of finishing it off with an open A, it goes to the D major. That's where that comes in. So it goes. Pretty cool. So G, one more time. G, A, B, that's the B note right there, to the C note right there. And if you want to walk it back down, you can, and we'll do that right now in Brown Eyed Girl. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So you go from a G, if you want to play your G like this way, then you just remove that finger and hit the open A string, then hit that 2nd fret, and then go to the C chord, and then walk it back down. 2nd fret of the A string, and then open A, and back to the G. Or you can play it like this if you're using your pinky. So really, I just removed everything except the pinky and hit that open A string, 2nd fret, and then the 3rd fret right there, which is that C chord, and walk it back down right there. Okay, and I'm gonna give you a bonus walk up here. It's really easy. E major to A major. It's used in a million songs, from blues to whatever, but let's try it with Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond. Sweet Caroline. Good Times Never Felt So Good when it goes to the E major. Very cool. Just a simple major walk up. You're on E major, like that. So you're hitting the low E note 3 times, and then go to the 2nd fret of that one, and then the 4th fret of that E string right there, and then the open A, like that. So those walk downs and walk ups right there are a terrific way to go from sounding like okay as a guitarist to just amazing, to where people are like, man, it just feels seamless. You're just moving in and out of chords effortlessly, and then the songs just totally come alive. If it was helpful, hit like, hit subscribe on your way out, and I'll catch you next time for some more lessons. See ya.